Is the Raiden Ei that we meet in Inazuma really the same person from before the Archon Wars? I'm sure some of you are a bit confused. Of course she is. She's the Electro Archon and the Shogun of Inazuma. Why would she be someone different? While I hear some of you brandishing your pitchforks and lighting your torches before you burn my house down, hear me out. There is a part of her story that actually mentions that during the end of the Archon War, Raiden Ei actually died. In fact, this is largely why Makoto was originally the Archon and not Ei. If she did indeed die, who is this person we see today? Before we dive into the history of the twin Archons, if you want to see more Genshin Impact content, do consider subscribing to the channel. In order to unravel this story and explain to you what I'm talking about, we need to go back to a time before the Archons were a thing. To do this, we will be referring to a resource all lore hunters use in Genshin, a book. Among the many books that the Yae publishing house has released, there is one that is rather famous, Shogun Almighty, reborn as Raiden with unlimited powers. If it's not that obvious, it's a story about someone being isekai'd and reborn as the Raiden Shogun herself. Because of the popularity of this book, a few others were released, one of which was a prequel of sorts. And this book is the true subject of our focus. In the book titled The Treasured Tales of the Choken Shin Kageuchi, the story of how the twin gods became Inazuma's Archons are told. Given I just said that this book was an offshoot of an isekai light novel, you might think there is no way the accounts of this are anywhere near accurate. But according to Raiden Ei herself, the early chapters are largely trustworthy and accurate, so we should be able to use it as a reliable resource. Within this book is an account of how the twin gods became Archons. It refers to Makoto as the Shogun of Light, the Shin in the title of the book, while Raiden Ei was the Shogun of the Shadows, which refers to the Kage in the title. After their many battles, it's mentioned that Ei only saw herself as nothing more than just a warrior. She was a peerless one and unsurpassed in her martial abilities, but still just a warrior. Because of this, she willingly chose to give up her physical or bodily form, which allowed Makoto to ascend to godhood and become the Archon of Inazuma. I suppose this is similar to the situation between Barbatos and Andreas, where despite them both fighting together on the same side, only one of them could ascend. Andreas sacrificing himself allowed Barbatos to be crowned the Anemo Archon. After this point, Makoto was referred to as the true shogun, and for a while, she actually ruled the land by herself, establishing her shogunate and casting her influence over all of Inazuma. Makoto eventually remembered her sister though, and the sacrifice she had made long ago. Wanting to rebuild the bond they once had, Makoto was said to have recalled Ei's divine will and reformed her body. Essentially, Makoto was described to have resurrected Ei. Now, if she really did accomplish this, why do I claim Raiden Ei could be a different person? She was brought back by Raiden Makoto, and it's even mentioned quite distinctly that Ei's divine will was specifically pulled back and her body reforged. For all intents and purposes, she should still be Raiden Ei. Well, the thing is, recently, as part of Nahida's second story quest, we encountered one of the 7 sovereigns, Apep, the Dendro Dragon. Throughout this story, we meet several elemental beings that originate from the dragon itself. These life forms seem to have their own sentience, personalities, and are self-aware. For most of the story, there is a lot of emphasis on how, for elemental beings, it's their internal structure that is important and not their outward appearance. However, by the end of the story, in order to save the dragon, they were all reabsorbed back into it, and became one with the Dendro Dragon, curing it of the forbidden knowledge that had plagued it. Paimon is distraught at the fact that these elemental beings are gone. Apep says that they eventually will be reborn, however, Nahida confirms that while they will remanifest, they will be wholly different from the beings we met throughout the quest. While we aren't fully aware of the true nature of gods, they are thought to be similar to elemental beings. This means that once such a being returns to its fundamental or original state, its sense of self should disappear, like in the quest. So if this is the case, what exactly did Makoto bring back? It could be that the gods are different from simpler elemental beings, and because they are comprised of more concentrated energies, perhaps they could retain their personalities even after death. But the opposite is also possible, meaning whatever was rebuilt wasn't truly Ei. The implications of this is that the Ei we see could largely be a different person altogether, or at most, a close approximation of the original. Even if we were to scrutinize this further and consider that since Ei remembers the past and confirm the contents of the book, it must mean that she is the same person. Although changing memories via immensal is possible, perhaps Makoto gave this creation the memories she had of her sister. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Now, since Makoto is gone and we don't really know this past version of Raiden Ei, this really doesn't matter in the long run. But the fact that a god was forcibly recreated is a feat we have not yet seen thus far. Even the dragons, who are said to be capable of remanifesting themselves after death, take a long time to do so. But here is a clear example of Makoto doing this very thing. It makes me wonder how truly strong Makoto really was and what gods really are. In addition, Makoto was mentioned to have recalled Ei's divine will, which seems to imply that the gods do have a place to go after their deaths. If they are elemental beings, then it's likely to be the elemental or light realm, but we can't know that for sure. In any case, and as I mentioned, whether Raiden Ei is really the original honestly doesn't matter, as there is no comparison we can make here that would be meaningful either way. I just thought that it would be interesting to share this story given it's pretty hidden away and not something most would find unless you go looking for it. In the few short lines in the book, it sort of lays a foundation of what could be possible and creates a whole slew of other questions. Can other gods be resurrected after their deaths? What is the afterlife that the gods go to? And of course, does this also mean that Makoto and perhaps others could be brought back? These are questions that won't be answered anytime soon, if at all, but interesting nonetheless. That brings the video to an end though, and if you found it entertaining, do consider liking and subscribing to the channel. I'll see you in the next one, and as usual, have a nice day.